Hello, this is Nazni. Good to have you here. In the last video, we have seen and learnt about directive approach of counseling. And I told you that there are two more types of counseling. So let's talk about the next approach of counseling. Before we start, I would like to show you a short movie clip.
खैर, क्या तुमने कभी कुर्सी खरीदी?
What?
चेयर, कुर्सी खरीदी?
हाँ.
और क्या तुमने दुकान में जाते ही पहली कुर्सी पसंद कर ली और खरीद ली?
नहीं.
Exactly my point. एक कुर्सी खरीदने से पहले हम कितनी सारी कुर्सियां देखते हैं, कितनी सारी कुर्सियां ट्राई करते हैं. And yeah, some kursis are comfortable but look like shit. Others look nice but are hard on the bum. So the process starts. Kursi after kursi after kursi after. Because how many kursis we check out before we find that one kursi? Dun dun.
आज
मेरे साथ क्रिक नहीं करते. So my point being, एक कुर्सी चूज करने से पहले अगर हम इतनी सारी कुर्सियां देखते हैं तो एक लाइफ पार्टनर चूज करने से पहले हमें ऑप्शंस नहीं देखने चाहिए क्या? So, dirty, cheap, fast? No. Smart, clear, fine, actually, super fine.
it's so cool.
Hope you enjoyed and also got my point. Here Shah Rukh Khan is playing the character of a counselor and Alia Bhatt is the counselee or the client. Can you tell me which type of counseling is going on here? What is the counselor trying to do? The role of the counselor is to mainly create an atmosphere in which the counselee can work. The counselor only directs, instills, and guides the counselee to gain an insight into their own problem. The counselor's role is passive here, and the counselee is active. Let's discuss about non-directive counseling. First of all, let us have a look who is the leading exponent of non-directive counseling. Carl Rogers is the leading exponent or promoter of non-directive counseling. This type of counseling is also known as permissive or client-centered counseling, as it relies on the counselee. The counselee assumes the major responsibility of solving the problem. They take their own decisions and finally take an action. This type of counseling is client-oriented. The counselee is allowed free expression. They actively participate in the process of counseling. Goal is independent and integration of the client is the focus rather the solution of the problem. Emotional aspect rather than the intellectual aspect is stressed and all-round development of the client is the aim. Counseling relationship is the establishment of warm, permissive and accepting climate which helps the client to express himself or herself. The emphasis is on the counselee and not the problem. I hope you have got the basic idea what is non-directive counseling. Which type of approach is it? Let's discuss the characteristic of non-directive counseling. Counselee plays a vital role in the whole process. It revolves around the client. Client leads the conversation. Counselor is mostly passive and counselee is very active. Focus is on all-round well-being of the counselee. Open-ended questions are asked. Diagnostic instruments are not used. Client can act based on their own intellect. Counselee assumes major responsibility of solving the problem. Let's see the procedure or the steps of non-directive counseling. There are basically 5 steps and they are defining the problematic situation, free expression of feeling, classification of positive and negative feelings, development of insight and actions, decrease and eventual termination of counseling need or situation, Let's take up the first point. It's defining the problematic situation. The individual comes to the counselor for help, and the counselor identifies and defines the problem. The second step, free expression of feelings. The client is made aware that he or she can express his or her feelings freely and that the counselor approves it. A friendly attitude is maintained by the counselor throughout. Third point, third step, classification of positive and negative feelings. The counselor identifies the negative and the positive feelings of the client and classifies them. Step 4, development of insight and action. The counselor goes on thinking deeper about the issue and the client or the counselee and the steps that could be taken keeping the best interest of the client in mind. Conversion of negative self-feeling into positive self-feeling of understanding and acceptance takes place in the client. Last step, which is number 5, decrease and eventual termination of counseling need or situation. The counselor looks for a point where he can terminate the counseling situation after all the above steps. According to this, either the client or the counselor can suggest such eventual termination, which you can see in the movie Dear Zindagi. Well, everything comes with some benefits and some limitations. Let's discuss the advantages and disadvantages of non-directive counseling. First, we will look into the advantages that we have for non-directive counseling. There is development of problem-solving ability. Unwanted tests can be avoided. It removes the emotional blocks, helps individual to bring out repressed thoughts and reduce tension. Friendly attitude is maintained. Emotional problems can be solved easily and emphasis on the all-round personality rather only on the intellectual aspect. It is a long-term solution for the client and makes them more capable of resolving similar issues in future, making them independent and confident. The counselee is able to confront weakness without feeling threatened. Let's look into the disadvantages of non-directive counseling. It is slow and time-consuming. If the client is immature to take or make any decision, then it is not suitable. Sometimes, due to the counselor's passiveness, the client hesitates in expressing his emotions and thoughts. It is not always successful. Wisdom and judgment of the client is not always reliable. Passive attitude of the counselor may irritate the counselee. Well, that's all for today. We have discussed the meaning, concept, characteristics, procedure, advantages and disadvantages of non-directive counseling. Let me conclude the lesson. The counselee takes active part, gains insight into the problem with the help of the counselor and arrives at a decision and action to be taken. Plays an important role, actively participates in the process, takes his or her own decision, and finally takes an action based on the decision. Thank you so much for being patient, watching the video. Stay tuned for next lesson, that is eclectic approach of counseling. Unit 4, guidance and counseling. Till then, bye-bye. Keep smiling, make everybody smile. Stay blessed.